right. Hi, everybody. David Fogel back with you, CEO of the Symphonina Foundation. Back with another Symphonina Foundation podcast. I've got composer Deon Lee with us today. Deon, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Well, we survived the all the whirlwind of the Grammy voting season, and you did too. And that's how I got to know you, actually. How was your Grammy voting season?
Well, it was a little bit hectic. It was a bit overwhelming in the beginning. Just been a lot of I guess networking online and just reaching out and just listening a ton of music. And there's just such a wide variety of music out there, and I was just astounded and just really impressed by all the works out there.
It's a great time of year. Maybe it's like Christmas for us musicians, where we get inundated with presents to listen to, and it's all good. You had your own submitted for best instrumental composition, which we wish you the best of luck with. Daughters of Eve. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So Daughters of Eve was actually a film, an AFI film. It was a thesis film, and it's been quite a while ago actually. It's been composed in 2014, and the director Jessica Keith had reached out to me to score for the film at the time. It's a film based on the Civil War period. It's about the confrontation of the war tragedies and the protagonist, the colored woman, her devout faith in the fight for the daughter's life. And we needed something very like introspective, almost like a minimalistic approach to the score.
Hmm.
Uh, and I had hired Tina. I brought Tina Guo, who's a wonderful cellist, who I
Yes.
had the pleasure of working with on my actually a very first feature back in 2008.
Wow.
So yeah, we go back, yeah, all
Almost
the way.
20 years. That's great.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I really knew her sound well. Basically, I played the piano. I ended up recording at Christopher Young, who I had assisted for around then. I worked with him on a project as well, and recorded at a studio. I was on the piano and violin, and Tina, and that's it. And it's just three of us for the entire score. Very minimalistic, simple approach, but very emotional driven.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. And as listening to some other compositions of yours online in preparation for our conversation, I would say that's a key feature of yours, actually. Very emotive.
Emotive. Yes, I believe so.
Yeah. You studied at Berklee, you studied at USC. But before we get there, how did you get started in music? You grew up in South Korea?
Yes, I was born in Seoul, Korea. I started out with playing the piano, but my brother actually, I have an older brother who was taking the lessons in the beginning, and he quit and they handed over to me
There you go.
on the piano. So I only stayed
The
in Korea.
first hand me down you got, probably. There you go. It's a piano. Okay.
Yes, and the first 6 years I grew up in Seoul, and then we moved to Tokyo. Yeah, that was back in the late 80s. And at the time, there was a big boom in the Nintendo industry and the
Mm.
gaming industry. My first exposure to the music and having me play, playing by ear, music. How I really got into it was playing video games. Yeah, and I was playing some theme music from Mario,
Hmm.
also TV shows in Japan. And I really love the fact that, we had this organ that we picked up, from the dumpster. We were very poor at the time. My parents were missionaries in Japan,
Okay. All right.
yeah, we picked up this organ and I started playing on the keys on my own, mostly self-taught in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then I moved on to violin, probably age of 10. And then I started joining like symphonic bands, in school, picked up the trumpet for about the next
Oh,
10 years or so,
that's
similar to
great.
violin. And, picking up different instruments here and there, playing guitars, drums. Grew up in a church environment as well, for that.
Yeah. Well, then when did you come to the US?
I came in the US when I was 15. I started high school here.
Okay.
And then I applied to Berklee during my third year in college because I first went I was at U of I, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, majored
Hmm.
in music education for the first year. And after a year, I thought music education might not be the route for me. It may not be my passion. So took a year off at the community college to call the gen eds. and transferred over to Berklee
There you
because I
go.
really wanted to get into like writing and production for commercials.
Hmm.
That was my main goal. But during the time when I was at Berklee, I really explored all different kinds of music. First, I was exposed to jazz, heavily into jazz, because I really never understood what jazz was. And my roommate at the time, he introduced me into Miles Davis,
Hmm.
and who
Yeah.
I didn't know. So,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, so everything went downhill. I mean, just everything was just, listening to albums and albums, jazz, and I studied jazz piano for about a good 3 years, I believe. Joanne Brackeen was one of the first jazz piano instructor.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I wanted to become a jazz pianist at the time. Yeah, and then, form a trio and maybe head out to New York and, perform.
Yeah.
But I figured that there's so many talented artists, at Berklee, and didn't think I was like good enough to be at that level. So I decided to go into, like composing, and I was getting into like synthesizers, electronic music and experimental music. And, that's also my passion in music is it's like a hidden part of me where I still have yet to reveal.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
was getting into like circuit bending and listening to Xenakis, Stockhausen, all those contemporary composers of the electronic era. And then later to find out that I had this passion for like storytelling with my music through the visuals. Yeah, I decided in the last perhaps 2 semesters of Berklee that I yeah took on this route, and I flew out to LA. I graduated in 2007 Berklee, and then end of 2007,
Hmm.
and that was in December. And then a month after that, I flew out to LA, and then I landed on a job, assistant job with Velton Ray Bunch, who was working on a television movie.
Okay.
He did the like the theme music for Quantum Leap. He did the music for Star Trek Enterprise, which he won the Emmy on. So yeah, I had the pleasure to
That
work
was a
with him.
great intro for you. And as I remember, 2008, a difficult financial time for America. So
Yeah.
the world, the 2008 and 2009 were not the best of times to be looking for new jobs. So that's better. More congratulations to you for that. Did you go to USC after that shortly, or how did that work for you?
Yeah, so I ended up going to USD in 2009, so basically a
Yeah.
year after that. I was still in the OPT, which is the international like visa period.
Uh-huh.
They have you work for that 1 year. I had the opportunity to apply, well, actually apply to CalArts as well, because I was really into that whole experimental music. So I did get into the master's program in CalArts called the Experimental Sound Practices. And then also was accepted to the USC film scoring program. So I had two choices. Should I go to this route or the more of the underground, more
Yeah.
experimental approach, the artistic approach? And I, yeah, decided to take on the more of the narrative, writing for film.
Yeah.
Right before that, I actually worked on my first feature film. It was a Taiwanese film called 1895. That was more like my debut project,
Okay.
actual film score project
Yeah.
that got released over there.
How many different films have you worked on now?
I would say a total of 3 features,
Hmm.
and a bunch of shorts.
Numerous short films, right?
Yeah, numerous of shorts, documentaries.
That's good. What are you working on now?
Well, currently I am working on my solo album, and I believe it's going to be more of a minimalistic approach, something like a piano, violin, perhaps cellos, maybe some smaller ensembles like string quartets as well.
Do you have a tentative title for the project?
I do not. I,
Okay.
I think title comes after for me once I had composed the music. And
Interesting. Okay.
yeah, I somehow tend to find inspiration in the moments, and when I'm writing, I realized what I did, and oh, okay.
Does it
That's
ever work for you backwards like that, where you have some instead you have the idea in mind of what it is that's the concept, and then the music comes from the concept as opposed to the music generates the concept of the title?
I've been doing the film stuff, like film scores over the years, and usually I need like a concept or a story to accompany the music. And I feel like on this album, well, I think I have a like a general concept, but I feel like when I write something, it more comes from my subconsciousness.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very like emotionally driven pieces. Sometimes I'm surprised, like I come up with something and I don't even think about it, and it took me maybe like 5 minutes, and then oh wow, this is and maybe I can use this.
Yeah. Do you have a good way of retaining those things as you do that? Do you have the recording always on, or how do you do that?
I record on my iPhone, I have the memo app, so any ideas I just either hum, but I just play the piano and then a violin.
Hmm.
I have many hours of recordings to consolidate.
And how often do you go back and listen to the things that you've done and decide, well, that's the idea that I'm going to work on now versus that other one that's going to have to wait for some other time and some other inspiration?
Well, I feel like I have years of recordings, so that's quite a bit of a uh,
It's its own problem, isn't it?
yeah. I think the issue more of it is, I mean, you have so many ideas to work with, and it's about choosing the right notes, the takes, the right.
Yeah. When someone has a film score that they need and they come to you, let's say it's a short or it's a documentary, what kind of questions are you asking the director or the producer who comes to you? And what can they do to be better prepared for that meeting with you or somebody like you so that you get the best result?
Hmm. Yeah, good question. I would say I would like to know the overall theme of what they're going for. So I would normally ask what are the top 5 words to describe your film? And usually they come out with, something like an adjective, or it could be a noun. And based on those 5 words, I come up with a theme of the music. Yeah, simple as that.
Okay.
Yeah, and
And when
that
you do
really
that,
helps.
yeah, when you do that, are you the kind of composer who likes to work collaboratively, like hands-on with the producer or the director, or is it more like you go away and come back and share what you've done?
Well, I think the first 2 weeks is typically how long it takes for me to come up with a main theme or a
Hmm.
thematic idea. Is I'm just on my own. I close doors. I'm in the cave. Perhaps no outside influence. Maybe a little bit of a reference here and there, but most of the time I'm just by myself at that time. And after that, it's going to be all collaboration, a constant, throwing back ideas with a director.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds great. So when you're working with the director, let's say it's a 10 to 20-minute documentary, right? How much time back and forth do you expect it would be in the production of the film score from the time that you go, let's say, be in the cave by yourself for a little bit to the time that the finished product is ready in your mind?
I guess it depends on the project.
Mhm.
Uh, when it's a documentary, it's scored by scene, so it's a constant collaboration. I would say every a week or two or so. But when it comes to a longer, like a features, something like that, normally you're given about, I would say, like 2, 3 months to complete a film for a feature. Shorts are very short, so it's a quicker
Right.
turnaround.
Do you feel that 2 to 3 months is an adequate amount of time for a feature film generally, or is that a
I guess
significant time pressure to you?
yeah, I guess this also depends on who you're working with. If a director wants you to stay longer, then I'm on the project much longer than that.
Yeah,
But if they're on a deadline, then of course we have to sacrifice some things to move forward with it.
right, right. You were involved with the Grammy-winning Treveni project, right? What was your role there?
Oh yeah, so I helped record the cellist Eru Matsumoto, who I had the pleasure of working with on the another feature film that I had scored. And basically, she came over and we were just, throwing ideas, together and then recorded the cello.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great connection to have. How have you gone in your own musical development to work on that network of connections? I think that's very important for not just new people, but really all of us, whether we feel like we have a great network or not, but to continue to work on expanding it. How do you do that?
Well, normally I had, like previous to this, I had reached out via, it's interesting like how I actually, when I first started, well, that was back in 2000, what, 9 or 8? It was basically off of like social media platforms because at the time I just didn't know anyone. There's one instance where I had hired Tina Guo It's I posted an online advertisement on Craigslist.
Really?
Yeah, and then I said, here's this is what I'm working on, a feature film. We'll be able to play. Surprisingly, I had received a quick response back from her. I believe at the time we were just perhaps starting out in our careers
Yeah.
in the day, and I believe she was at USC as well. I know she had worked on with John Powell's movie. I believe it was Hancock or so. Yeah,
Oh,
she had
okay.
only worked on one feature, and then I had her. But yeah, over the years, it's been a lot of like social media platforms that help me network.
Okay. And is that what you would recommend most people do now too? Just make sure they've got a great social media presence
Yes,
and
absolutely. I believe nowadays we're never off on our phones, right? Like
it's sad
Facebook,
but true. Yes.
Instagram, maybe
Yeah.
a bit too much, but
Yeah.
yeah, and then going out to film festivals and meeting people, directors
Uh-huh.
specifically, and producers is important.
Yeah.
Getting your out.
And when it comes to orchestral mock-ups and things like that, I know you've had a lot of experience, obviously, with that, with the USC training and then in practice too. But I guess probably the world of sample libraries and all of that has developed just significantly over the last 2 decades, probably when you were at USC to now. But what's your feeling on how you approach doing a mock-up and the number of sample libraries that you might use? What's your overall impression of doing that to try to get the sound that you want before it goes to live recording?
Hmm. I heavily use strings, and it's one of my favorites to use. I hardly ever use solo strings when it comes to MIDI. I usually play them on my own,
Yeah,
so
you have the talent to do it yourself, right? So
but I would say I mainly use about two to three libraries. Based off of that, I do a mixture of those so it doesn't sound like coming from one library.
mhm.
But when I do that, and then I overlay with some of my violins, perhaps one or two takes, so you can sweeten the sound. So it does come out a little bit of that liveliness to it.
Yeah,
So I typically do that, and it comes out okay.
it does. I know, absolutely. It comes out better than okay, that's for sure. You also have experience playing brass too, if I remember correctly.
I do play, yes, I played the trumpet. That was back in grade school,
Okay.
junior high pep bands and, pit bands and probably all the way up until high school. But that was just a side thing that I did. Yeah, I think it just sort of overall helps you with the writing process as well. Just knowing different instruments, yeah, that would definitely help.
In terms of maybe a couple other questions, in terms of the things that you look to work for, are you when you're actively looking for the next project, what is it that you're seeking out that would be like the perfect project that you want to do?
I believe that, I mean, there are composers who are great at everything. And I really admire that, when they can camouflage and become a chameleon for all different types of genres. At the same time, there are other composers who have their own voice and who specifically will score, that can really elevate, their artistry in the voice. And I believe I'm in that transition state where I really appreciate all different kinds of music and the genres out there. But I feel like I want to carry my voice and what I'm really good at, and I perhaps reach out to the directors or would love to talk to them about collaboration on the works that I'm perhaps be interested in doing.
Yeah, and do you have a specific type of film that you would like to work on, or does that not matter to you that much?
I really enjoy exploring the human drama, like storytelling, directing, and of course I appreciate like also thrillers.
Well, you are excellent at telling stories with three of the most emotive instruments. I mean, every instrument is emotive in its own way, including a triangle, I suppose. But violin, cello, and piano, that you can cover a wide range of emotions there. And you have. So congratulations, Deon. It's been just a pleasure listening to you. We wish you all the best with Daughters of Eve and the solo project you've got coming up. Keep us posted on your progress. If people want to get in touch with you, directors, producers, particularly, but anybody, what's the best way to do that?
Yes, they can reach me at deonlee.com, Deonlee, or you can find me on Facebook or Instagram, Deon Lee Composer.
Thank you, Deon. We're going to listen to some more of your great composition on the way out here. It might even be some of your great playing. We'll have to see. And we wish you all the best for the Symphonina Foundation. If there's anything we can do to be of help, you just let us know.
Thanks so much for having me, David. It was a pleasure.